the national anthem, whatever. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There's nothing to report from closed session. All right, E1, proposed multi-year agreement with Bullis Charter School. Mr. Bear and Kenyon?
Yes, so, well, I think the backup on this information or on this particular agenda item is pretty clear. I think we'll hand it over to the board to take public input and then discuss.
All right. Give me a chance to speak first, maybe? All right, we need Don Gardner, Robert Burdich, Kate Disney, Rob Chang, and Sharad Jazwal.
How much time?
2 minutes. Oh, actually, wait 1 second. I am going to read off the rules for public comment. I am absolutely sorry. All right. In order to maintain respect for all points of view and in order to run a meeting that does not last until sometime tomorrow, we need you to understand the ground rules for comment. Please address the comments to the board, not the audience. Based on the number of speaker cards tonight, each person's comment will be limited to 2 minutes. Randy has the timer and will give you notice of when your time is almost up, and the timer will buzz when your time is up. Please wrap up your comment when the timer goes off. If you have more to say when the time has wrapped up, please email your comments to trustees@lasdschools.org. We read each and every email received. If you believe your statements are repeating others or you agree with another speaker, we recommend that you say ditto or agree with insert name here. There can be no clapping, booing, hissing, or audible agreement or disapproval. I suggest that if you agree with a comment that you wave your hands in the air like so. We ask that you treat the board members and other audience members with the same respect you would your own friends. We will do the same. Please note that the board will not engage in a dialogue with the audience during the meeting and will not normally comment on public statements. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam President.
All right.
My name is Don Gardner, and our family moved to Los Altos 8 years ago, close to the Egan campus, with the hope of getting into Bullis Charter, which we did. 96% of the over 1,000 families in Bullis Charter do pay taxes that help pay for the Los Altos School District schools. We need to treat all families equally, something that has not been done now for over 15 years. Los Altos School District's decision to switch out an agreement that was negotiated between two boards for 18 months with the assistance of a mediator in exchange for a recommendation from staff with no negotiation is not fair and not in the best interest of cooperation. I understand the 10-year mediated agreement and can see why it is by far the best option. The ECS agreed to a cap in exchange for a path to long-term facilities. Without a cap, Bullis Charter could continue growing to meet demand, causing challenges in planning for the long term. If that path is truncated or delayed, Bullis Charter would not likely agree to any cap. There would be long-term stability and peace amongst all the Los Altos School District and Bullis Charter's family with an agreement. This seems very important for the sake of the families and students. We have 5 years of peace, which was nice. Dragging this out for another year or more would subject the community to more angst. Students attending Egan for only 2 years, so it disrupts the families for the shortest amount of time to move it. The new site is also in the neighborhood where the majority of students would be living once it is built. Bullis Charter, on the other hand, is a 9-year school. The vast majority of Los Altos students currently have to cross some major streets to go to their junior high. With all the new construction, the majority of students would be living near the coal site. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Burdich?
Hi there. This is always too short for me. So I'm going to do that. There we go. So I was, first thing I was going to talk about, it's a little bit different. I was going to propose a change to the agenda. It says that we're going to take community input and then consider taking action on the multi-year agreement. I'd like to consider.
Can we just determine
Sure,
the agenda?
and then just say that you should actually take action on the agreement and reject it. I think you've had plenty of time, you've had plenty of community input, you've had dozens of meetings and oodles of people coming before you with their concerns about this proposed agreement. Let's just put an end to it tonight. Not to reiterate all of the reasons, but some of them are very important to me. Living close to Egan and seeing that we're considering giving up a neighborhood school. I think the notion that just because most people have to cross a major road to go to school, so we all should, is not a great argument. And I think it's just time to say that school is important, the neighborhood is important. The laws may change, and I think you've heard from a lot of the community that we would be behind you if you were in support of continuing to find a solution that supports your constituents, which is LASD, not BCS. And hopefully you guys make the right decision tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate Disney.
Well, I guess I'll just leave it there.
Actually, Robert, while we're doing this, do you mind moving that a little bit back so that the speakers can more easily see the 30-second warning and all of us at the same time? Thank you.
I always wanted to be a roadie.
Okay. Okay. You know, I think we live in kind of dark times in our history. There are some people who want to take over and privatize our public institutions, and they claim these public institutions are wasteful and ineffective, and sometimes they are right. But that is not true of LASD. So I want you to think about the decision you're making and see it through the lens into the future. What is it going to look like to people in the future? Someday this decision is going to be viewed in more enlightened times. So I want you to do the right thing. Do not turn over our public assets to a quasi-private school, or any quasi-private school for that matter. Stand strong for LASD. Do the right thing for LASD. Save our neighborhood schools, and just say no to this closing of Egan and handing it over to BCS. It's not right. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Chang?
Hello, my name is Rob Chang, and I'm a native of Los Altos. I grew up here. I went to Gardner Bullis when I was in kindergarten, to be moved then to Hillview, to watch Hillview be closed and then sold, and then to watch Covington change from a junior high school to an elementary school. My brother, who also lives here and has a son in Almond, had to ride. He went to elementary school at Covington and then had to cross Foothill Expressway all the way across town to go to Egan. I'm incredibly proud of the education that I got at Los Altos School District, and upon returning here a few years back, I've followed very closely the growth of Bullis and the development of Bullis. I think it is incredibly great, and I'm very proud of what the community has done here to create an educational system and choices for our children, which is excellent. Excellent and distinguished in the whole country that we've done here. I thank the members of the board who have participated and worked very hard on this change. As I mentioned, all of the change that happened when I was growing up all happened without a charter school. It was because of the ebb and flow of population in the Bay Area and the children. And we will continue to see that in those changes moving forward, regardless of any charter school, and there will be difficult decisions. I thank the members of the board who participated in the in the difficult negotiations. And I would hope moving forward, I support it, and I would hope moving forward that the board here take this opportunity to lead the community through this complex change, as opposed to use it to feed upon the uncertainty and doubt that is part of any difficult decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharad Jazwal, and then Yvonne Hill, Greg Hildebrand, Allison Biggs, Marge Ellison, and Margaret Petit.
Good evening. I'm Sharad Jazwal. I have a first grader in Bullis who was a kindergartner in Covington. So I'm actually deeply thankful and grateful to both the school systems. When I saw the mediated agreement, it seemed an outcome of a genuine process of give and take. However, in the recent few days, I'm deeply worried about where it's trending, and specifically about the proposed interim agreement. Let me explain. I think it's a non-controversial statement that kids in Bullis do not have access to the greatest physical facilities and space, especially compared to their counterparts in LASD schools. You just take one example. I mean, in Bullis North, there's one small playground, a green patch, for the whole school. And you just have to visit the school during lunch hours to see how crowded it gets. And to squeeze in another 100 or so students as per the interim agreement, it's just going to make an already bad situation very bad. In abstract terms, one may justify it by saying, the Bullis board voted on some agreement under some conditions. But if you pause to consider what happens on the ground, what you're proposing is basically going to squeeze kids who are already in a suboptimal situation. And as parents, you would agree there's nothing good about that. Now, I understand as elected officials, you have to pay heed to the voice of the majority, but you're leaders, and it's also your responsibility that the voice of the minority is not discarded during the process. As you make the decision, I hope you do right by the kids in Bullis. Thank you.
Thank you. Yvonne Hill.
Good evening, everyone. I want to say thank you to Los Altos School District Board and as well as BCS Board, because you guys really spend so much time and effort to work on the things. But I'm an immigrant. I'm from Hong Kong. I learned the British school system throughout my life. I want to say something is why now, as LASD want to cap the number of people at BCS so that we can have a balance in our community and stability in both board and both schools. I want to say something is, originally I wanted to send my kids to BCS, but after I moved to Santa Rita, I find that it's very nice to enjoy the community, the neighborhood spirit. What BCS is doing, I understand why they're doing, but that's not just. I hope you guys can consider and other alternatives. We are all here. We would like to listen to you. What kind of input we would like to provide for you, we will try our best. And as a parent in LASD board, I want to give a question to you guys is, what's going on in the charter school and our public school? Why? I can tell you in my school, some parents, they got the enrollment for the next school year at BCS. They're still at a point, they may switch to the other school or stay here. Can we try to do something like making a survey to ask why BCS is so good? They're doing something great, but I think we can do better for them. We parents can support you guys. We provide more. We can learn from them, and we can provide even better for them. And one more thing is, I can do a speculation. BCS want to do a one train school system. They have kinder, they have elementary, and they even try to propose high school. You will see. That's because Hong Kong and the British system, they love one train school system. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg Hildebrand.
I too would like to thank the board for really the effort that you guys have put into transparency and communicating with the community. I've had the opportunity to talk with a couple of you and appreciate the efforts that you guys have put into that. I also appreciate the strategy of looking to try to come up with some sort of long-term solution with BCS. I think that is the right path. It's a big, a significant minority position within the community, and finding a long-term peace is a worthy outcome. Nonetheless, the agreement that has been proposed, I think, should be a non-starter. I'd like to hear the board really loud and clear to say to the BCS community that it is not negotiable that we would close a well-functioning, highly supported neighborhood school for their charter. Right? That just doesn't make sense. And I do think the board knows what the right answer is, which is we have to grow the pie. And you guys have put a lot of effort into finding new property. You actually succeeded in having a potential campus in Mountain View. And for whatever reason, BCS doesn't want to move there. Well, that's fine. That's their prerogative. Then they can join in and help grow the pie. It just can't be acceptable that we shut down a loved neighborhood school for that experiment. That's the message I'd like, and I agree with Robert. Hey, let's just vote down this proposal tonight and move on to a different solution. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Allison Biggs.
Tilt it.
Oh, sorry.
Where is the clock?
He'll show
okay,
the 30
all right,
second.
Thank you. Hi, so I've been here talking to you before, but I'm just coming back again. Just to reiterate, I'm a parent at Santa Rita of 2 boys in 1st and 3rd grade, and I thank my lucky stars every day we ended up at this school. It is so supportive, inclusive, and diverse while still being incredibly high performing. Like, actually, according to my personal value system, I often feel guilty because we have the resources to maybe be in a lower performing district and help in those areas. But, I really want my kids to get a great education. I feel Santa Rita has really provided that opportunity while also still not leaving anyone else in our community behind. It's like Kate said, we are privatizing education. When we give anything to Bullis at this point, their percentage of low SES students is so low. Their number of special needs students is so low. This is not the path we need to be going down. And I think if Egan becomes their school, they will just continue to grow. They will have the prime location in the prime space, and there will just be more migration to that school. And where do we want to see LASD in 10, 15 years? Do we actually want our robust public education system to still exist? I really think we are almost at the point where we're having it's a tipping point between public and privatization of education. So, thank you.
Thank you. Marchie?
Good evening. My name is Marge Ellison. I have a 2nd grader and a 6th grader at Almond. I feel like community process has been going on for 15 years, and I personally had enough of it. There's always going to be a new batch of parents who are considering this for the very first time, and I don't think we can go on like this any longer. BCS is not going away, and Prop 39 is not going away, and it's not going to change anytime soon in the next few years. LASD is required by law to provide in-district families facilities for BCS students that fall in the district. Right now, that's about 20% of the population. So they are entitled to 20% of facilities that LASD has. There are only so many options for this. One would be sharing on 2+ sites. This is what you guys are proposing right now with that 2-year interim agreement. That hasn't been working so well in the past 15 years, and it will not be Prop 39 compliant, and BCS is going to sue. We're going to have to fight back. We're going to have to spend money on litigation. I don't think it makes sense. Second option, BCS goes to the 10th site. First of all, it's not big enough. Again, it's not Prop 39 compliant, so they will not agree to it. Mountain View is not going to pitch in the money if it's not a neighborhood school, and BCS doesn't have to change their lottery under the law, and there's nothing we can do to force them to do that. Why should we spend measure and money on providing BCS with a brand spanking new facility when we can do that for our own students? Third option is BCS goes to Egan, and Egan relocating to the 10th site. First of all, let's stop calling it closing Egan. It's not closing Egan. We're moving it. It's going to be the same principal, the same staff, and same curriculum that makes it great. We can partner with Google, Facebook, all the high-tech companies, and build a fantastic, cutting-edge, state-of-the-art campus that everybody and their mothers would want to send their children to. Instead of looking for a solution that does not exist, we've all been looking for 15 years. Let's spend our time and energy and resources on making a safe route to the 10th site. Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret Petit, then Nyunyn Wyn.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I make a request? As your name is called, can you form a short line here in the front just so we don't have the wait between each speaker? Thank you.
Nyunyn Wyn, Mona Ohuha, John Bear, Nicolas Bear, and Barry Osten. Hi.
Hello.
Margaret Petit. Hi.
Yeah, exactly. Margaret Petit. Thanks. No worries. I want to first just say I actually do feel that it would be closing Egan because, yes, maybe it is opening in a new location, but it's going to be closing Egan as we know it as our neighborhood school. So I ask you not to do that and find a different solution. Allison Biggs, is that better? Allison Biggs and the gentleman before her said very eloquently what I would say, and so I'm just going to leave. I ditto what they said. And so I want to also say then, I've been at a lot of these forums. I've seen more of you guys than I ever wanted to, and you probably ever want to see of me. So I appreciate that. I've also seen more of BCS than I ever wanted to. I've been to their meetings. And I do want to say that when we went to there, they did give us time to talk, but it did not feel as though they heard us. It certainly was indicative of that in their comments and then the unanimous vote that they had. So I just want to say I appreciate you coming and hearing all of us over the past month, however long it's been. I've met with you for coffee and at all those meetings. So thank you. Thank you for your time. And then thank you for listening to us and hearing all the voices, pros and cons from all of us tonight and taking that into consideration in your vote tonight. And then I do request to vote no on the 10-year plan and use the community input to come up with a better one that is a nice solution for everyone. I think peace at any cost is not what we want. We want peace with a good outcome for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'd like to thank the board for all your hard work and for listening to concerned parents such as myself who want to support our LASD neighborhood schools. I agree with previous speakers and encourage you to reject the proposed agreement. Having BCS on one campus will not contain their enrollment, and giving them Egan would not guarantee this in the long term. We have an exceptional group of parents here who are activated and want to be involved and would like to support your efforts. Going forward, I and many parents here would like to see more analysis, the options that you considered, and not only involve us in your decision making, but also use our input before another agreement is proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mona.
Hi, and thank you, all of you, for all the time that you've put into all of this. As you can see, the community is really, really affected by this. I have 3 kids, and we moved here 5 years ago. We had the choice of moving to many different communities. We looked at Los Altos, Saratoga. I grew up in Cupertino. We finally ended up here in Los Altos because of the schools, because of the community, because of everything that the people here bring to the school. It's not just education, it's not just academics, it's their social well-being. We have well-adjusted kids here who start off in elementary school, they go to Egan, they go to Los Altos High, and they thrive. And I have a kid in high school right now, and he went to Gardner Bullis, he went to Egan, and is very happy. And all of these things are because they're neighborhood schools. We are all growing up together. We are not a transient community. We are here for the long haul. So please keep that in mind, whether you move Egan to the other side of El Camino or you keep it here, understand that you will be changing the feel of this community if you do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jan.
Vertically challenged people here, okay? Hello. I'm here tonight to urge you to please vote yes to the negotiated 10-year agreement. Both LASD and BCS agreed to have a mediated negotiation and have been in this process for the last 18 months. In that time, both boards have had several meetings, forums, and sessions where they took public comment and input. The 10-year agreement is the product of this negotiated process, which both parties entered into in good faith, with the understanding that we would finally have a long-term solution. As many people know, this is not the first time we've gone through this process. It's like Groundhog's Day. We feel we will be forced to do this over and over until we learn from our mistakes. The lack of commitment from past LASD boards is what led us here to this point. End this vicious cycle of insanity and agree to the mediated agreement. The last 5 years of peace have been great for the community. No one wanted BCS on 2 campuses at that time, and everyone complained. However, we entered into that agreement with the understanding there will be a long-term solution at the end. Well, here we are again, a long-term solution that people don't want, this time for 10 years. People are complaining. Many people don't like it, but it gives the opportunity for peace, which our community deserves. I see all these yard signs out saying, "Save our neighborhood schools." Well, I think if we were truly one community, we would come together and have signs to urge our board members to save our community. Despite how people feel, BCS is the minority and is getting treated as such. Throughout history, we see the pattern of inconveniencing or getting rid of the minority for the convenience of the majority. I pray our community is better than that. Please vote to approve our proposed 10-year agreement so that our community can move forward. Winter has come. You have to ask yourselves, will you be of the family Stark, creating peace, representing honor, and saving the community? Or Cersei Lannister, continuing to harbor ill will, creating civil unrest, and going back on your word? Thank you.
Guys, settle down. Nicolas Bear.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Johnson, Ms. Spicer, for your... Sorry.
Yeah.
I want to thank Mr. Johnson, Ms. Spicer, for your diligence and forethought and hard work in negotiating the 10-year proposal. I wish the LSD community and some of your fellow board members would show your hard work, the support, and understanding that I think it deserves. It's clearly the best solution to many issues facing LASD. I was disappointed and frustrated to learn about this short-term proposal. It throws aside months of your hard work and the work of both LASD and BCS. I teach my kids that a deal is a deal, and I would never let them piecemeal out a deal like this. If you won't be standing by the 10-year proposal that you negotiated, I hope that you at least start sincerely and honestly educating the community as to why moving Egan to the NEC site is more about the necessity of reconfiguring LASD schools to finally support the growing NEC population and the inability of LASD to financially support another site than it is about BCS. During this process, I've been shocked and hurt by the anti-BCS rhetoric of late. To those parents and board members who continue with this anti-BCS rhetoric, please realize that BCS is families from your neighborhood. BCS is your neighbors and friends. BCS is the kids who play sports with your kids on weekends. BCS is nearly 20% of the public school population, and BCS is providing another award-winning educational option in our community. Please consider finding a way to honestly, calmly, and fairly include all the community in the facility solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Barry Osten.
Hi, my name is Barry Osten, and I live within the Los Altos School District. I'm also a BCS parent. Thank you for all the hard work that has brought us to this point. It has saddened me to learn that many district school families firmly believe that BCS intends to destroy LASD or take over LASD. I don't know anybody at BCS, whether parents or leadership, who wants that. Many at BCS believe that influential activists in the community want to kill BCS. I do believe there's some truth to that. On to business. BCS and LASD agreed to a 10-year deal with a cap on BCS enrollment in exchange for a time-bound commitment on permanent facilities. I've heard the 2-year agreement described as something BCS has already agreed to. This doesn't make sense to me. The 2-year has a cap but no permanent facilities. Why would BCS agree to that? And they haven't. That means if you vote down this 10-year agreement, there is no agreement. And the activists can continue their war. I don't think anybody wants that. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Sorry, Tim Fitzgibbon and Peipei Yu, Joseph Borough, Ying Liu, and Dorothy Ahn.
Hi, first I want to thank all of you guys for taking the time to meet with the parents and families at the Los Altos School. Second, I want to remind you this was a proposed agreement. It was never signed or finalized, so I'm glad you took the time to consider the terms and consider if it's a good deal or a bad deal. And as we talked about in many of the meetings, the community believes this is a bad deal and should not be signed. So I urge you not to sign this deal. Second, you guys, the community is looking for you guys. The parents at Los Altos School District does not believe Bullis Charter School Board looks to the community's interests. We look to you, and we urge you to look to the community input that you've received and vote no for this long-term deal. Third, I just want to reiterate, we do need to think of options. I'm not against BCS. BCS is a choice. You have a choice to go there. It has options for some people, but that doesn't mean the Los Altos School District families should be impacted, because you need to look at the long-term impacts, and moving in Egan is going to have negative impacts and will destroy and hurt this community. So thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Peipei. Yep.
Hi, I'm Peipei, and you know I'm here because I disagree with the long-term agreement. I just want to repeat my main point of dissent is around governance and transparency of this privately run institution. I think given the data showing that the school has the lowest percentage of socioeconomically disadvantaged students, it makes me wonder if we should address this in the agreement, whether through looking at the lottery, the district verification, the enrollment preferences for Los Altos High School or Los Altos Hills. So I think that's just something we should think about, because the output is not giving us what we want, so there's something going on with the input. I care about this because I was one of those students that is not represented. I'm one of those students that no privately run institution would ever want. I immigrated to the United States to escape domestic violence. When I came here with my mom, a single mom of 3 kids, we had no money. I was an ESL student. We required lots of social support. I'm here because there is no economic or social reason for why I should have succeeded, for why I should be a tech executive, except for I had public education, and I had teachers who cared about me.
Your streak was so good, everyone.
I am here to speak on behalf of the single moms like mine who could never be here because they are working nights to put food on the table. I am here for kids like me who I'm smart, I'm talented, I'm persistent, I have so much heart. No one's speaking for them. I'm here for them because I'm one of those unwanted students, those expensive students. So people ask why I've spent hours and hours on this. This is my thank you to public education. This is thank you to every teacher I've known who have helped me succeed. And I ask you to do the same by adding governance into the long-term agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Joseph Borough.
I just want to say thank you to the trustees, Superintendent Bear.
Microphone.
We really appreciate you listening to us and coming out and hearing us and meeting with us individually. It means a great deal, and thank you so much, whichever way you decide. I do not support the proposal set forth by the board. I understand your concern with BCS's enrollment numbers, although I'm very skeptical as to the veracity of their wait list, that they claim they have thousands waiting to enroll in BCS. As one audience member came up and said, she initially came to the area and then applied to BCS, was rejected or put on the wait list, and then went to Santa Rita and is now very, very happy. She has no intention of going back to BCS if an opening comes, But again, I'm sure she's represented on their wait list, and I'm sure they're claiming that this is the queue that's waiting to enroll in BCS, and you all should be very afraid of their enrollment numbers. I actually think they've reached their cap personally, but again, when you're dealing with an entity that claims all their data is proprietary, it puts you in a position of not being able to negotiate fairly. And that's a lose position for you and for the public education system. And that concerns me very much, although again, I think the people here that you're hearing, they're going to public school, they're not going to enroll in the charter system. If you are worried about enrollment numbers, then let's compete with BCS. Let's offer foreign languages. Let's offer after-school care, because a lot of these families are working families and they can't make it to pick up their kids at 1:30 or 2 o'clock. So let's compete on their level, and we can do that in a short-term, quick manner. To date, we haven't made any mistakes. At one time, the trustees rejected giving Gardner Bullis to BCS, and my family has benefited from that. So I really hope we don't continue to make mistakes. Thank you.
Thank you. Jing Wu?
Hi. First of all, thank you very much for all the hard work you guys have done. For a member who's lived in this community for long enough time, and for whoever is reading and following the news for this much, we all understand how almost close to impossible to make a decision that can make all the constituencies happy. So I really appreciate all the hard decisions you have to make and all the time and effort you have to make to listen to the community. And I'm also here, I want to bring the attention to the board on BCS practice on managing their student residence verification process. So I went with a few LASD parents to meet Amy Waterman-Roy. She is a BCS board member this morning. And this is what I have learned about BCS student residence verification process. So once you're a student getting to BCS, she gets to stay. What this means is you can rent a cheap apartment here, and then you can register and you enroll with the in-district status. And once you are in, even you move out, they allow you to stay in the school. And you are recommended to update your address. However, this is an honor system. And third, once you started your school, the existing students do not require to provide any proof for the many years that they will stay at BCS. And BCS does not have audit process for their students' residence information. This practice clearly gives room for people to game the system. We have heard many anecdotal stories that people who live in the district, who goes to BCS but live out of the district, so many that many people are suspicious their claim of under 4% population of people out of district. However, we don't have visibility or insights. BCS uses their in-district student status. Oh, okay. They use their in-district student status to compete for local school resources.
That was the buzzer, though.
Oh, okay. And it's clearly advantageous for BCS not to keep their students' residence record up to date and keep LASD
we have
in the
an
dark.
email to that effect, Jane. We have to give
Okay.
everybody the same amount of time. Sorry. All right, Dorothy, and then, sorry, I'm going to name off the rest. Jen Shuck, Bave, sorry. Kate Hillier, Autumn Lujan, and Jeff Drager. All right, Dorothy.
Okay, thanks. I want to thank the LASD board and staff for the tireless effort that went into the mediated negotiation over the past 1.5 years. 5 years ago, LASD and BCS entered into a 5-year agreement explicitly based on a promise that the district would use that time to finally nail down a permanent facilities resolution with BCS, a public institution. The community wanted this resolution. Based on that promise, BCS joined forces with LASD to pass Measure N and compromise with the inadequate facilities that exist today and restricted enrollment for that period. I've known many of you from soccer, Little League, PAC 78, my neighborhood. It's wonderful to collaborate with you on Measure N and Measure GG. There is plenty for the BCS community not to like about the negotiated 10-year agreement, but we haven't loudly protested the deal because many of us understand that many ideas have been floated and rejected by the district over the past several years, and this agreement represents difficult compromise on both sides. I could vent about how disappointing and unreasonable it is that despite our cooperation with the 5-year agreement, and long after we jointly passed Measure N, and long after LASD held countless community input sessions, my son, who was in kindergarten when we signed the 5-year agreement, will be close to college age before the 10-year agreement provides permanent facilities for BCS. However, as a taxpayer, I support the negotiated agreement because it is the result of 1.5 years of hard negotiation and represents difficult compromise by all. One cannot cherry pick a piece out of the deal out of context of the whole negotiated compromise while discarding the permanent facilities piece, which was the whole point of the 5-year and 10-year compromises. We are incredibly fortunate to have 2 great public school choices because one size does not fit all. We have waited 16 years. I urge both boards to be leaders in steering away from divisiveness and divisive rhetoric by finally delivering a long-term facilities resolution as promised 5 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. Hi there.
Hi. My name is Jens Skagebæk. I'm part of the LASD community, but I happen to have my kids at BCS. I want to stress this because, as other people have said, I'm generally be concerned about sort of the us versus them rhetoric that's been happening. We're like any other family that you meet at birthday parties, go to biking with, hang out with. We're here for the long haul too. And we also have a thriving community, and we want to be part of the broader thriving community. We vote for you guys as well. You represent us, as you know, with the 20% of students in the school that we happen to be at. I think what's important is that you think about now that you're part of representative democracy here, which means that we have all voted for you to make this hard decision. Tonight and in the other meetings, there are a very small group, relatively speaking, that have very strong opinions, but you also represent the broad majority of the folks that are out in the community that are not here tonight, and that's how this is not going to be like a single vote, one person, one vote decision, which is why you should think about. We just need to make sure we think about that when we are in these discussions. I'm very confident as a voter here that you guys have spent, the 2 of you in particular, have spent a lot of time turning every stone, and it's hard for you to explain all the details and all the reasoning of why you arrived at where you got to. So I will encourage you to stand by the gut feeling and the decision that you made when you approved when you arrived at the compromise, which we all know is very hard earned. So I encourage you to vote yes.
Thank you. Kate Hillier.
Hi. I'm an almond parent. I have a 2nd grader and an incoming kindergartner, and I've been at a lot of these meetings. First, I want to thank the board for having stuck with people yelling at them for 3 weeks, and for what I think is a really thoughtful approach to the response. I think the right decision is to defer this and has the greatest chance, hopefully, of not tipping this into costly litigation immediately. I think the big question and the critical next step is how we as a community can stay engaged and help you to get through the next 8 months in a process to move forward. One of the challenges that we've always had is the BCS board doesn't engage their community. They play this like a long-range, high-stakes chess game at the edges of the charter school legislation rules. And we need to step up as a community with you and be really thoughtful about our next steps. I was very disappointed to see communications among Bullis families today taking the position that what they should do was ratchet enrolment by 300 students a year to try and force LASD into a corner. This is not an appropriate response by a community to a community problem. We need to find a way to coexist. We need a clear process, and this is not about sitting on our hands for 2 years, which I've heard tonight. The process needs to be timely. We need to map out our steps for working through the options for the sites on our side. We need to keep this community informed and engaged, and BCS needs to see that we have a timeline and we're sticking to it and we aren't just punting the issue. Our process needs to be organised and structured. We need to recognise that you did extensive diligence in coming up with the Egan solution, and we can't just reject that out of hand, and we need to work through a limited number of alternative options, including the Egan move, and not extensively revisit things that you already looked at. Use our resources, draw upon the skills of this community in the most advantageous way possible. And we as a community need to support this process. And once you and we arrive at a decision on an alternative solution, we need to work to galvanise our whole community, BCS and LASD, to support this board and the BCS board in moving forward with whatever long-term solution this process comes up with.
Thank you, Kate. Autumn.
Hello. First, I want to say thank you for your tireless work negotiating this agreement and having countless meetings with your constituents. I'm not even sure how you guys are finding time to eat at this point, so I thank you. I hear the frustration from BCS families, and I want them to have good facilities too. We were actually at BCS for a week, and so I know many of the families there, and I adore them, and they deserve something wonderful too. But this agreement will not bring the peace that our community needs. I think it will bring further division, and let me tell you why. These are our schools. They are the heart of our community, and we love them. Our schools aren't just soulless buildings to be repartitioned. Our neighborhood schools have links to our past. Murals made by past classes, memorials to students who have died, garden beds dug with the sweat of our Eagle Scouts, trees planted by our students, sometimes even before they get to the school, native gardens planted by our volunteers. None of that can move. This community is not thinking of this as a move. It is an eviction from a home we love. We're giving up our home for an enrollment cap that the BCS board itself says is ephemeral. I was at the BCS board meeting when they voted to approve the agreement, and they said what they wanted was to grow and grow and grow. This agreement will not bring a lasting peace. It is an appeasement, and it will split our community further. Please go back, negotiate again without the cap, and find a better solution for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Traeger, Bobby Otilar, Jean Shen, Ying Liu, and Robin Sick. No, you should start putting these on top. No, these are Jennifer Springer and Herb Marshall. Sorry.
No worries. Thank you to the board, and I just want to compliment you first of all. Los Altos has amazing schools, wonderful job. So we have first world problems here. I moved to the city 2 years ago, and the schools were a critical part of that. I've got 3 kids going through in elementary school and below right now. So please, I thank you for your grueling work on this topic. The agenda says the board is considering taking action on the 10-year agreement. I would urge you to actually take action on it and reject the agreement formally here today. I applaud the direction you've taken to take a lot more community input to get other options on the table. The community is not convinced that this is the best option. Transparency isn't hard. We don't have to go with your gut feel. You can share with us. We're adults. We'll understand that some people are going to feel good, some people are going to feel bad. We'll all realize there are difficult compromises to be made. I feel that if you defer the decision today, it kind of stacks the cards in favor of a solution that has been put out there that the community isn't 100% behind. So I would urge you to think about the whole community. For those who haven't heard it yet, there's a story from reliable sources going around that an offer on a house has been pulled back due to the impact of the schools, and I would encourage the community to think that your reduction in property values if the school district goes downhill is going to be a lot bigger than what it would cost you to go to private school or do something else with your kids rather than destroying the school system here. So everybody has to realize that there will be compromises along the way. I just think if we could have a process that puts options on the table, starting from scratch, that would be in everybody's best interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Bobby?
Howdy. I've been in Los Altos for a while, since graduate school, so more than 10 years, I'll say at least that much. And I do have a kid at Bullis Charter. My daughter and I pay my share, so I support the fact that all the public schools in the community work together. But really what I want to come down to is what I think of the brass tacks. Y'all have worked super hard for 18 months to come up with this agreement. Nobody really likes it. I hated it when I saw it. Now I'm like, okay, I kind of support it. But what this comes down to is I think the 2-year agreement came out, the non-starter. I don't think anybody at Bullis is going to support that. So it's either this goes down or then what happens? No agreement. Bullis will grow by a couple hundred kids a year, which I think is morally right to let in all the parents who want to get in, but that's just my personal opinion. What I'm coming down to, though, is you all have a choice. Either you go with an agreement, which nobody really likes, but at least it's something that's people can live with and brings peace, or we roll the dice and we say, well, then there's no agreement. Bullis will grow until an agreement does come along, and that'll be down the road. Maybe Sacramento will say no more charter schools, but maybe they won't. Bullis will hit 1,500, 1,800 kids, who knows? But it's a big roll of the dice, and it's kind of on y'all to look at all the facts and figure it out. So I know there's a lot of people saying this side hates that side and whatever. Y'all are the ones who have to be the adults in the room. I don't know what you're going to do, but that's what I see as the two options. Either approve agreement, things are capped for 10 years, we have peace, or Bullis grows until something gets negotiated. So I hope y'all are thinking about that very carefully, because it's not entirely clear to me that everyone in the room is thinking about what is actually could happen, what are the likely outcomes. It seems like there's a lot more of like, I want this, I want that, you can't take this from me, you can't take that from me. You know, you have to compromise somewhere. And I'm not thrilled with the 10-year agreement, but my daughter gets 600 square feet right now to every 1,000 that somebody in LASD gets. If it gets her to 800, I can live with it. But not for 2 years, for 10, for the rest of her time at the school. So anyway, thank you guys for working hard on this. I know it's not a fun, friendly, or easy process. So.
Thank you. Jean Shen.
I really appreciate all the hard working from both BCS and LSD.
Could you speak into?
So last 18 months, both sides spent countless hours on the 10-year agreement, which might finally bring the long-term peace to this community. Today, I would like to share a little bit about my story. So I have been living in the North Los Altos for 13 years. So my house is only 8 minutes walking distance from Egan. My kids were born and raised in this community. My son went to Santa Rita for 5 years, and my daughter was there for 2 years. So 5 years ago, both of them transferred to the BCS. Now they are in the BCS middle school. So transferring my kids to BCS was one of the hardest decisions that I ever made in my life. I would say, I promised my kids if I did not like BCS, they could move back to Santa Rita or Egan anytime. Surprisingly, after 3 months in BCS, my kids did not want to leave BCS anymore. So just recently, my 8th grader asked me why I didn't enroll him in BCS when he was a kindergartner. So I told him because there was an enrollment cap in BCS. 10 years ago, BCS only had space for 325 students. So I don't understand. I mean, I heard many parents here is talking about the wait list on BCS go through the lottery. So I don't understand why LSD wants to put an enrollment cap on BCS. Why do we put a cap on #1 ranked public charter school in California? Why do we want to sacrifice our kids' freedom in choosing the right school? BCS should open their enrollment to all the students in this community, and all the parents in the LSD should be able to choose the right school for their kids. Parents and the student will vote with their feet. So unless your child attend both neighborhood school and BCS like mine, you will never know which school is the best fit for your child, and you will never get to know the true BCS either. Thank you.
Ying.
Good evening. I want to take this opportunity to thank LSD and the BCS boards for giving parents like me two competing yet complementing public school systems, the best charter school in California and the top-rated elementary and junior high schools in the Silicon Valley. The recent 10-year facility proposal gave me hope that both LSD and the BCS boards could collaborate in good faith and work together toward a common goal, the best educational outcome for all the kids in our district. Given the complexity and history, I want to point out, one, let's not fool ourselves and act as if we wait for another 2 years, BCS would disappear. I also believe it is more fair to compare if BCS received the same amount of public funding per student, such as property tax revenue and parcel tax. Number two, let's not pretend that we will be smarter and come up with a fresh, brilliant idea that has never been thought of or will make everybody happy. Number three, the challenge we are facing will not become less personal or emotional. The challenge will only get more complex and intense. Number four, it's time to focus on education. How many more task forces and more scenario analysis the district can come up with?
it is a better use of our energy and the time to attract and retain talented teachers and develop more innovative programs to compete with BCS. I trust both boards to work collaboratively on the long-term peace and predictability for all the current and the future kids in our district, and for all residents and taxpayers in our community. It's time to show your leadership. Do what is right, not what is easy or popular. Thank you.
Thank you. Robin.
Hello, good evening. So I understand many of you are very tedious right now listening to so many of us expressing their opinions. I'm a BCS parent, so I have a few of my opinions I want to share with you tonight. So first, my neighbors keep on telling me that we need to save Egans. In my mind, this doesn't make sense. We don't need to save Egans. In fact, we have never lost Egans. We are simply getting a better Egans here. One that is brand new, well-equipped, modernized. This is nothing but a reflection of generosity of a community willing to invest $150 million in a new school. Our community cares about our kids and our school. But I just don't understand, now when we are moving to the new school, there's so much resistance. We wanted a new school, the temp size so much that we passed Measure N. I still remember the time one of my tenants buddy kept on convincing me to vote for Measure N. Now we have the funding, we have the plan, but no one wants to take the new school. You know, at a time where other school districts in the state struggle for resources, our reluctance to move to a brand new $150 million facility exemplifies nothing but arrogance in our communities and in our leadership of our school district. It's the conflict with BCS running so deep in all of us that we lost our logical thinking and sound judgment. I hope that's not the case. The next point I want to make is the purpose of Measure N is for us to preserve the excellent education and quality of our small neighborhood school. I don't think any money from Measure N should be spent in any kind of litigation. At last, the issue between BCS and LASD has cut our community so deep. Right now, I think we have a chance to cure this cut. I urge all the board members here to look inside yourself deeply here. Find the courage, do the right thing, try to bring harmony back to our community. Thank you.
Jennifer Springer.
Thank you all for the countless meetings, the long emails, Jessica, Shally, for your individual response to my kid's grandmother about this issue. I have a proud Egan 8th grader and a Los Altos High freshman, so this will not directly impact my family, but I'm still very concerned about this issue. I am also a very proud Bullis alumni before the charter school situation. And I was an Egan Viking, and I was actually an Egan Viking cheerleader. Way back when. But I won't be leading any cheers tonight. I am just here to say that I am strongly opposed to giving up the Egan campus that I attended and my kids attended, and forcing hundreds of kids, if you saw today the number of kids on bikes, to cross over El Camino. I just don't believe it's a safe option. Also, as somebody who grew up by Hidden Villa, I don't believe that this is a good decision for the Bullis families. When I moved back here 6 years ago, I was going through a process of finding the safest and the best community for a family to live in. And I looked at where the schools were located. I looked at the major thoroughfares, and I decided to come back to Los Altos being safer than Los Gatos, Woodside, and many of the communities. There are other options. Please postpone this decision. This really, to me, does not at all feel like a compromise. Peace at any cost is not what we want. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Herb Marshall, Wendy Yu, Carol Nakamoto, Amber McDonald, Sangeeth Peruri, and Richard Liu. Hi.
Hi, my name is Herb Marshall. I have 3 kids, 2 at Santa Rita and 1 on the way. Last week, I begged you to understand that the health of our collective relationship is far more important than any specific deal. I again urge you to delay this decision and move forward with a shorter term interim proposal to allow community engagement process to occur. It should be clear to all that the majority of constituents do not feel this process has played out properly. Perhaps a more palatable solution might appear, or it's possible we might end up in the same place. But we will have been on that journey together, and the health of our long-term relationship will be stronger, and I firmly believe our overall community will be stronger. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hearing. Thank you for acting on what you heard. That is what true leadership is about. Thank you for those on the board who responded to emails and continued to listen with interest after hearing the same message over and over. Finally, I wanted to thank Brian and Jessica. You spent countless hours negotiating a deal you believe is in our best interest. The deal was received with an outpouring of concern, confusion, sometimes criticism that has to be difficult, challenging, and frustrating. I personally want to ensure that you know, and I know many feel the same, that my opposition is not a rejection of your efforts or of you, but of a deal that I do not agree with or that I don't understand all the variables. These are very emotional topics, and I think sometimes constructive feedback and dialogue can get lost in that emotion. Your direction last week and hopeful action tonight, acknowledging more conversation is needed, speaks volumes of your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Wendy.
Hi everyone, thank you for serving LASD. I have been a district resident and active voter since 2002, which means 17 years. I had petitioned for the Mandarin program back in 2008. It was denied, too bad. I vote yes to Measure N, and I have voted yes to Measure GG as well. First of all, I cannot resist to kind of bust one of the myths that has been floating around tonight here. Based on data from California Department of Education, the number of SED students are as follows. BCS has 14, which is 1.6%. I'm not too surprised, and I think it's reasonable to compare that with Gardner Bullis, since BCS has always had a priority for people living in that area until recently. So Gardner Bullis has 5 SED students, which account to 1.6%, which is the same as BCS. Are you surprised? I'm not. This is the number of SED students we have. Let's look at Oaks. 10 students. Springer, 13. Loyola, 16. Of course, if you look at Almond, Santa Rita, and Covington, they have quite a number of people from the other side of El Camino, and they have more, 57, 81, and 28 respectively. So in my opinion, 14 is actually not too bad, 1.6%. I mean, Springer has 2.6, Oak has 2.4, and Gardner Bullis has 1.6. I just want to make this clear. And I know a number of people here have said that BCS should offer their enrollment number to more SED students. I think, yeah, if they feel very strongly. My understanding is BCS has offered to attend the Parents Information Night at those areas, at Santa Rita, Almond, and also Covington, and LASD has declined that. And therefore, I think, if you would like more SED students to enroll in BCS, maybe let them speak to those low-income people. How much time do I have left? Not much? All right. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Carol Nakamoto.
Hi, so I moved not into Los Altos, but where I live behind Egan in 1985. We waited 5 years to get into the neighborhood because of the schools. Santa Rita, Egan, Los Altos High were my kids. So I don't have any current skin in the game, but I want to represent, the population that looks for communities that they can feel a part of and so on. I recognize how challenging this is. I want to thank you all for your time and your efforts, but I just want to make a point that I think even though you're playing the chess game of the size of the schools and where it can best fit and so on and what your options are, you need to weigh the loss of the soul of the community as much as you do the numbers of the students. And I just think that this would be a huge problem to keep this thing going. I'm not against the 2-year thing. I don't know enough about it to really know whether that's the right thing to say, but I think letting BCS take over Egan is just, it's like a stab in the heart. So thank you.
Thank you. Amber.
Hello. I wanted to let you guys know I actually wrote a letter to both school boards and all the families in the Los Altos area. So even though I'm speaking this way, you can listen. In the past 3 weeks, I have attended almost every neighborhood meeting, multiple board meetings, had numerous conversations with concerned parents, and met with board members from both sides. What I have learned through all these conversations is that we, as a community, all of us, must be willing to listen, respect, and come to a collaboration as we move forward toward the future of a successful district, including all families and schools. Having an open mind means that we have to go past the status quo, to stretch beyond our normal limits of what is right or wrong, and have true intentions of working together as a community. This will require us to move forward from the past and focus on the future. I envision a future where BCS and our local neighborhood schools coexist in a friendly, competitive environment, where each school lifts each other up instead of putting each other down. We, as the families of both neighborhood schools and BCS, have a unique opportunity to show how two sides can come together for a greater good. We are at a tipping point where we can choose to build a bridge or we can choose to look the other way. I am asking both boards to give communities time to build that bridge, to use the tools that we have to propose a truly collaborative agreement, an agreement in which, given the proper timelines, I believe can garner the support of both communities, an agreement that sticks to the fundamental principles of enriching both our neighborhood schools and BCS. I believe that the current 2-year interim agreement, once terms are decided upon by both boards, will give both communities time to have a thorough engagement process, present those proposals to both boards, and provide facilities while this process takes place. It is not one versus the other or good versus bad. We all stand in this together to find a solution for the indefinite future, a future where every child wins. Thank you.
Thank you. Sang. Yeah, Sang. That was order, and then Richard. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Sangeeth Peruri. I'm a Covington parent, Los Altos resident, and former trustee. You all know that I'm not in favor of the proposal to move Egan, and you know why, so I won't rehash that tonight. I wanted to spend my time thanking all of you. I know how much time all of you have worked. I truly want to thank you for your service, especially Jessica and Brian for all your time negotiating the deal, doing more info sessions, listening to parents. I truly want to thank you. And what I've been very proud of this school district and this board is how much you listen to the community. There's been many proposals put forth by this school district over the years. There was proposals to shut down Covington. There was a proposal to buy 5150. For all of those proposals, you got community input, and many of those proposals were tossed aside. And so I really appreciate you listening. As we've gone through this process, I've been really reminded that our schools are not just buildings and our kids are not widgets. These are living, breathing communities. And to me, this community is my family. And I wanted to thank you truly from the bottom of my heart for protecting our family.
Thank you. Richard Liu, and then Danielle James, Carol Kipper, Robin Sick. Yeah, that's weird. Okay. Hatie Ulgen and Eric Shu. Sorry, it's your turn.
First of all, I want to thank the whole board members.
Could you use the microphone?
Oh, sorry. First of all, I want to thank all the board members, particularly Jessica and Brian, spent all the time to negotiate the deal, and also Superintendent Bear and staff, district staff, had to work with multiple plans to adjust for a short-term and a long-term plan. What I want to say is, why don't we use the next 8 months, not just negotiate on the deal itself, but also reach out to the broad community. Let's take input. How do we can improve the LASD to make it as a healthy competition with BCS? We don't want to compete on who gets which gym, who gets which green field. Why don't we compete on which school district, which school offer the best choices for services, for education, for our kids? Because both BCS kids and LS kids are the same kids, as in the same community. We have to work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Danielle.
Hello, my name is Danielle James, and I am an Oak parent, Block parent, and Mountain View High School parent.
And I wanted to thank you all for all of your hard work on negotiating the agreement. I know it's a very difficult and thorny issue. And I also want to thank you very much for all the time and energy you've spent into listening to the community and truly hearing what people are saying and responding to that. As you consider facilities for BCS, I want to ask you to make sure that any agreement ensures that there is no enrollment preference for Los Altos Hills, and that also that LASD is able to audit that BCS is running the lottery equitably. I see on the BCS website that it seems that BCS will be instituting a 50% Los Altos Hills preference again after the next school year. And I was surprised by this, but I can also see this same language in the charter for BCS that's posted on the Santa Clara County Board of Education website. BCS already has a very, very low percentage of low SES students compared to LASD schools. And it makes absolutely no sense to make BCS even more elite by letting them have a Los Altos Hills preference. So I hope you will take this into account in whatever agreement that you are able to negotiate. And thanks again for all of your hard work, and good luck to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol.
Hi, good evening. I came back tonight. I'm Carol Kuiper, and from 1976 to 1984, I had the weight that you all are feeling on my shoulders. And the issues in my day were, 1, declining enrollment, and 2, school closures and Prop 13. We had a surplus of buildings. That's not the case now. And so I'm here tonight to say, please avoid the mistakes that I made when I was on the board. That was because at that time we had 12 schools. Many of us wanted to lease schools, and we were told by demographers in our community, this community would never support any more than 9 schools. And they would not vote bond money for us as long as we were not in the leasing business, we were in the education business, and they were wrong. I know that there's been hard work put into the negotiations tonight over the past, but I believe that what's really important now is to think not only about children today and their education, but to protect options for the future. We did not do that, and this community is suffering. Had we kept Hillview or Portola School, our large school sites, none of this would be happening to us tonight. I believe it's a terrible mistake to close one neighborhood school at all to accommodate a charter school. That's not the intent of this legislation. We have to go back, we have to talk to each other, we have to find a solution that protects now and protects the future and helps us build our community. Charter schools are supposed to offer qualitatively different education. Facilities are to be comparable, and that's all you're required to do. Let's go back to the table and talk until we can find a good solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Patsy.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everybody. Thank you for giving us the time tonight to speak. I actually came here to say thank you guys for the countless hours that you guys have spent, countless meetings, countless information sessions, countless hours negotiating, Jessica and Brian. I really do thank you. I really feel the difference that you guys listen to us, and I see that you guys hear us. We have been at the Bullis Charter School board meetings where we spoke, but did not seem to make any type of a difference or any type of a change in the script. I wanted to say that our community does not want a peace at any cost. The deal seems to be subpar. There needs to be more. The community needs more time from you guys. if the 10th site is the best for us, you guys need to show us why is it the best, and show us the roads, because nobody is going to. If it was going to be neighborhood roads, people wouldn't have been shouting right now. There's a big street, El Camino, San Antonio. We need to say what is going to be the difference. What are you guys going to make difference on those streets for it? Margaret A. Koba said that the people are crossing the El Camino every day to go to a middle school. That is going from Castro to perhaps to a Graham Middle School. The San Antonio is different. When I even cross by myself, crossing across El Camino, that area, it is intimidating. These are not sites for the kids to walk. We need to see what it's supposed to look like in the next 10 years for us to buy in on that. I believe that's it. Thank you, guys. I really do appreciate you. You guys are our conversation.
You said that was it.
And our night. You guys are like our family.
All right, so we have Eric Hsu, Ryan Randall, Grace Chen, Sharon Clay, Karen Lems, John Keeling, and Wendy Zha. All right, Eric.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Hsu. I'm an oak parent and a black parent. I feel like we're going to become family after 8 or 9 months of intense meeting. It's not like I like to speak in public. I was actually an engineer. I don't like to speak in public.
I don't either.
Yeah, thank you for empathizing my feeling. Yeah, the reason I'm here is I really feel the current proposal is not for the best interest of our community. It is our neighborhood school, and everyone loves their neighborhood school. We like to walk and bike to school with our kids, and that's our playground after school. And closing Egan and move the whole site to the 10th site is closing down our neighborhood school. And second of all, I brought it up this BCS governance issue before. BCS boards are not publicly elected, and there's an accountability problem. To have a closed door mediating negotiation does not work for the public interest. Let's make this a transparent process going forward. I'm really excited to hear so many people speak up tonight. Let's make a public hearing going forward to take everyone's input into consideration. Believe it or not, I actually have some BCS friends. We are not enemies. I talk to them. I try to figure out whether they will be in favor or against this exclusive proposal to give away Egan. Some parents actually told me they don't believe this is for the best interest of our community because it will incite hatred and resentment. There can be another charter school just formed by Santa Rita and Egan families like today's BCS. So please give this opportunity to the whole community, and let's move forward with a collaborative approach to find a solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Randy, how long do I get?
2 minutes.
I'm going to read something off the LASD website for Measure GG. Measure GG renews expiring funding to preserve current levels for LASD and supports all local public school students, including those attending Bullis Charter School. Measure GG funding is dedicated to neighborhood schools. I repeat, to neighborhood schools, locally controlled and cannot be taken by the state. That's currently on the LASD website. So my name is Ryan Randall, and I've been a member of the Los Altos community for 5 years. This is my second time presenting to this board. First time I came was to be in opposition to the proposed 5150 El Camino site. At that time, I had a child at BCS, I had one at Loyola, and I had one in private school. At that time, I was also the development chair for LAF, where I got to work with Jeff, Jessica, got to meet Brian and Randy. In that year, we raised $3.7 million for schools. Tonight, I'm here with 2 kids at BCS and 1 kid at private schools, and I'm fully in support of the 10-year plan. I think one of the problems that we have is, as people have talked about, this community has been divided, and it's unfortunate. There's a good line in Hamilton, winning's easy, governing's harder, and we're in the governing part. One of the things I think we've misunderstood is the amount of delayed maintenance that's involved with all the schools. Is Egan a good thing or a bad thing for BCS? It's not clear. What's the cost to maintain this? What's the cost to maintain all schools? Is a new school better than having to deal with maintenance? So that's something that I worked with Shali on CSCF, and I think that would be helpful if we learned a little bit more about it. The other thing I think is, I know when we were at LAEF, we spent a lot of time talking about like customized learning. I think LASD and BCS could work together to create a great school. I think some of the things, not all the things that Amber said, but many of the things Amber said I greatly agree with. We're one community, we should be formed together, and we should find something for the best of everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Grace. It's Grace Chen and then Sharon Clay.
Hello, my name is Grace Chen. I really appreciate the opportunity today to hear our parents' voice. So I have been Los Altos resident for the past 10 years. I have two children. One goes to BCS, 4th grade, and the other one goes to Block at the middle school. So I think I have a very unique lens to see the point of view from both sides. I just want to take the opportunity today to share my personal experience and observation from these two different schools. The reason that I chose two different schools for my two kids is because they are drastically different. Their learning attitude and ability are very different, and I feel very fortunate to be able to live in the Los Altos district and give different options for both of my kids. And the other point I want to make is that I really don't think BCS is competing with Los Altos other schools. We are part of the school district. We just offer another option for our kids, and all kids should deserve all these different options. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, Sharon.
I'm Sharon Clay, parent of the Covington and Egan children, and thrilled with the educational and community experience at both. And so thank you for your time and attention spent on really honestly what matters most. Please approve the interim agreement. We need a year to publicly work out the LASD long-term plan and other important agreement details. I will note that BCS, with their dramatic growth, every time we try and work out a plan, is part of the Groundhog Day pattern here. And now we have the additional advantage that the 10th site seems close to being known, so we can finally have a solid public discussion. I would also like to note that neighborhood schools also have a waiting list. Children often end up at BCS because they could not get into their neighborhood school. That also needs resolution, and we should not be reducing any neighborhood school resources. But then I also have a question about other details in the long-term agreement, which we have not yet focused on, such as how will assumptions about student enrollment be verified and enforced? I too have a question about neighborhood preference. Tom Dennedy, previous BCS board member, said on the Egan parent group that all neighborhood preferences that were controversial are being phased out. In December, Joe Hurd, BCS president, said in a 10th Site Town Crier article that no additional enrollment preferences should be placed. And I wondered at the time, what did he mean by additional? And so now I know. Apparently, the Los Altos Hills preference phase out ends this year. Next lottery will have the Los Altos preference back. So my question to you is, what did you assume in the making of this agreement for the enrollment? And how will that assumption be verified and enforced? I believe that the long-term agreement is not yet ready to sign. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Lems.
Hello, my name is Karen Lemus. In the 1970s and 80s, I was the parent of 3 children who attended Bullis Charter School and Egan Junior High School. At that time, the Los Altos School District was 3rd from the bottom in the Santa Clara County school districts in the amount of money provided per pupil. Many of our parents were concerned, and we organized to pass an improvement in our funding in 1989. I came across the list of those who chaired the effort for each elementary school, and I and Ann Bjorklund were chairs for the Bullis area. We recruited callers, had meetings, made phone calls to voters, and passed an increase. I was dismayed when the school board years later closed Bullis because it was the smallest school, and I spoke at the board meeting. It was understandable that some Bullis parents organized and created a charter school. Yet their actions since then have said plainly that they do not value the small neighborhood schools that have been the center of our community and the source of our pride in our district. They are no longer a neighborhood school and draw from all over the district. As a parent of 3 children who attended Los Altos School District schools and the grandparent of 2 children who also have attended Los Altos School District schools, I urge the board to keep Egan at its campus and assign the Coles campus to BCS. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John Keeling.
Thank you for all the work you're putting into this all the time, and for listening to the community input and for postponing the decision. I've got 2 kids. My name is John Keeling. I've got 2 kids in the Los Altos High School who previously attended Santa Rita and Egan, and I would like to agree with the first speaker who said that we should have the Los Altos School District treat BCS fairly. I agree with that. I think we should give proportionate amounts of all the schools to them. I think we should give them every opportunity possible, as long as they are fair to us in terms of accepting more underprivileged students and so on, as Peipei has talked about, and who a BCS parent had confirmed her information with data. So I am looking for fairness, and I think the right decision is to continue to negotiate until we can get fairness on both sides. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Wendy Zha, Irena Zacks, Alexandra Margaritas, Azida Yazden, Jody Vandergriff, and then Shedzad Merchant. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Wendy. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the public. I'm a mother of 2, one at kindergarten, one at 2nd grade at Gardner Bullis. To be honest, I moved here 4 years ago because of the reputation of BCS. For me personally, because they offer the mentoring program, although later on I heard somebody say it's not that great. But anyway, I saw my kids in Gardner Bullis. They really thrive and they are so happy. And I feel that I made the right choice for them. For me, I feel tonight the tension between the BCS and the LASD, the parents. I feel that we are one community. And I believe that I just want to let the BCS parents know that we know that BCS is a great program. We know that BCS gives you the option and the choice, and it's like the #1 charter school. We all know that, and I'm proud of that. We have such a great charter school in our community. But the thing is that you cannot have your choice in depriving our choice of a neighborhood school. It may be a great school for your kids, for your personal, for your family, but it doesn't mean that it fits everybody else. Like for us, a lot of people, we just want our kids to come back to school, work to school, and grow up with their friends. So I definitely hope that the board can make the right decision. I feel that moving Egan won't solve the problem, and it will disrupting the community further. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Irena. Oh.
Hi, I don't speak in public very well, so I apologize for if I don't say what I would like to deliver clearly. My youngest son is younger of 3 is graduating Los Altos High this year. I think that current decision is not good for anyone, because taking Egan breaks community, and it creates lots of bitterness on both sides. It does not help anyone. It does not help Bullis. It does not help Egan. And people who will suffer are not people who are making decisions or proposing decisions. There will be kids that will be growing in the community that is broken in two parts. We understand that it is a lot of very hard work to find solutions that will help both schools. But I think you have overwhelming support of community that will be here to support you in this hard work. And I'm sure that with transparency of the process, there will be solution found. Because I think everyone who is sitting here tonight will be happy to put more hours and more work to find solution for everyone. So please let us help you to find good solution. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Alexandra Margaritas.
Hi, I'm Alexandra, and I'm not really good at public speaking, but I just felt like I should come up here because I strongly disagree about what's going to happen to my school. I also came up here because I feel like it's wrong to replace a great neighborhood school that is supporting kids who need extra support and expanding a school that doesn't. I'm also someone who needs extra support, and I think it's wrong that Bullis Charter won't allow someone like me to come there. I also have many friends like me that wouldn't be able to attend the school because they need the extra support. I think kids should also have same chances equally with or without the good grades. What I think is important is that everyone should get the same chance, and I want a school that will support me and make me comfortable with who I am. So I would urge BCS to include more disadvantaged kids and start becoming a more representative school of our community. So please vote no. Thank you.
You guys were doing so well. Azida Yazden.
That's a hard act to follow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm an LASD mom who strongly believes in public education, and I've been more than satisfied with the education and support that my son is getting at Gardner Bullis. And I, like everyone else, wanted to thank you all for taking the time to speak with us and take our inputs and take that into consideration, something that's not happening with the BCS board. Pretty much everything that I wanted to say has been covered with everyone else, and I'm pretty sure you've heard the reasons why this agreement is not the right agreement for the community. But what I wanted to highlight is the notion that this agreement should be approved because it's the result of an 18-month work of the two boards together. And I believe this is exactly why it shouldn't be approved, because it's being between the two boards. And as you've probably heard everyone loud and clear, LSAD takes pride in the community. And any agreement that does not take the input of the community into consideration is a non-starter for the community. So I highly recommend that you really rethink this, not once, not two times, many times, because the negative effect of approving this will be beyond 10 years. This is more than just Egan. It's about the community believing in the board and having faith in the board to represent us and represent the best of the community who voted for the board to be the voice of us. So thank you for all your hard work to make this possible.
Thank you. Jody.
Hi, you guys. Well, I think you guys all already know my opinion. I stand here in strong opposition to the agreement that was created under the pressure of litigation in closed-door sessions and with no community feedback process other than these past 3 weeks. And I think it's been made very, very clear in these past 3 weeks of collecting feedback that we believe this agreement is not fair for all families. The biggest thing that I've learned and now appreciate these past weeks is how lucky that we are to have an elected board that listens to its constituents. So I want to thank you all. I've had one-on-one meetings with many of you, and I very much appreciate everything you are doing to try and understand our position. I want to spend my time, because of that, addressing the BCS parents that are in the room, because I've been to many meetings over the course of the last month, and this is actually the first time that we've all really been in one room, and it's refreshing. So I want to urge the BCS parents to put pressure on their board for transparency. It is clear from all the comments that I've heard tonight and from the many, many, many other meetings that I've attended that this community feels that there is a lack of transparency, and that is really the crux of the issue. We need transparency around the BCS lottery and the selection process and how BCS gets to their demographics and their lack of inclusiveness through what they claim is a fair lottery. With transparency brings collaboration between BCS and LASD, and until BCS can provide the same level of transparency, we will never get to true collaboration. We definitely do not have, as a community, an issue with BCS families. That would be ridiculous. We are all neighbors, and in many cases, friends. What we have issue with is the fact that we're playing under a different set of rules.
Thank you. Shehzad Merchant.
Good evening. Thank you all for taking the time and giving us the opportunity to speak here. First of all, sincere appreciation for the hard work that the entire Board of Trustees is putting in over here. Truly appreciate that. I have spoken on several occasions in the past, and I voiced my views that I am completely opposed to the current agreement as it stands. I've articulated my reasons in the past, so I will not go over all of that again, other than reiterate the fact that the board should vote no on the long-term agreement. I will add, however, something that I had not mentioned earlier, which is that any long-term agreement should get to an equitable sharing of resources if there is an equitable sharing of responsibility. Okay? What is going on right now is that BCS, it's a great school, good curriculum, good program, but it is running like a private school. They are not taking on the responsibility of equitable sharing of student demographics. A parent pointed out over here a 1.4% of SES students for BCS mirroring that of Gardner Bullis. Well, if you want to mirror Gardner Bullis, then we have Gardner Bullis. You don't need a BCS. So, I would say if BCS wants to be a responsible charter school in this area, then let's mirror the SES numbers of LASD, not of Gardner Bullis. The second point I will make, the parent also mentioned as well, socioeconomically challenged parents are not going to BCS, and LASD board should make a push to get them there. That is BCS's responsibility. It is not LASD's responsibility to recruit those students. Because when parents hear about a 7,000 or a 5,000 suggested donation, they are not going to go to BCS. BCS is artificially creating a two-class structure, and that is not acceptable. Until they get to equitable responsibility, there should be no equitable sharing of resources. If that means we go to court, we go to court.
Guys. All right, that is it for public comment. We will go into board discussion. Brian.